Hey there, John from FastTextBlog.com here today to discuss how much you should pay per 1,000 words of content. Before I dive into that, I have a question for you. Which ad size pays more on your site? You can choose from the horizontal banner, a square box, or the vertical screen filler. The answer is you won't know until you split test it. And one of the easiest and fastest ways, and I would say thorough ways to split test, is using a Zoic, which basically split tests ad sizes, ad networks, colors, etc. across your site in many placements all at the same time. So check them out if you're looking to increase your ad revenue for your site. Okay, so short answer to how much you should pay per 1,000 words. $60, and I say that because that's generally what I'm paying. But the correct answer is it's going to depend, and that's what I want to explore here. All right, so the range, in my view, in my experience, and I've paid dirt cheap rates, and I have paid outrageously expensive rates and everything in between. So, in my experience, the lowest rate you should pay per 1,000 words would be $27. And the only reason I say that, 27, it seems pretty random, John. It's like, where do you come up with $27? All right, it's 0.02, well, 2.7 cents a word. The reason I say that is that's Textbroker's 4-star offering. Now, I think Textbroker overall is pretty good. I've ordered a ton of content from them. And their 4-star is 2.7 cents a word, or 27 per 1,000 words. And the results aren't bad for the money. Okay, I'm going to qualify it for the money. You're going to get research. It's going to be limited. You are going to probably have to do some editing unless you really don't care what you publish. But here's the thing with Textbroker. There's a lot of writers there, and there are a good number of decent writers there. And if you pay attention to who's delivering what, and you can favorite the good writers, you can actually build up a nice library of solid writers, and over time then eventually you can just have your content get submitted to them for low rates, and you've got quite a good chance that you're going to get pretty decent content delivered for $27 per 1,000 words. Now, you do get what you pay for. You got to be realistic. Now, I still actually use Textbroker, and I use this rate for some content. For very simple content, I will place the orders there because I am simply not going to get the quality for that cost anywhere else. So I like Textbroker for that reason. Now, here's the thing with Textbroker, though. I've actually paid for their 5-star, which is considerably more. I think when I did it, it was 7.2 cents a word, or 72 per 1,000 words. I was pretty disappointed with that. So it was almost like I just had a 4-star writer generate that, and that certainly wasn't worth it. Okay, so in terms of spending less than that, I just really wouldn't do it. I've done it, and it's just not worth it. And you got to remember, when you're ordering all this content, there's a lot of time on your part, right? You're doing the outlines, you're reading it, you're vetting it, you're approving it, rejecting it. If you reject it, you got to explain why you rejected it, and all of this takes time. And so while it may let's say you find somewhere you can get it for $20 per 1,000 words, but if you're rejecting 50% of your content, you're really not that much further ahead. You're almost going to get to the point where you're better off writing it yourself. So there's that sweet spot. There's that range, and I would say at the bottom of the range would be Textbroker's 4-star. And on the flip side, when we're talking about the high end, how much you should potentially pay, let's say you really want to publish an awesome site with nothing but top tier content, really well written, really well researched. Maybe it's technical in nature and requires credentialed folks and so on, and so you need to pay higher rates. How much should you spend? I have spent outrageous sums of money for 1,000 words. I have spent in excess of $500 per 1,000 words. I wanted to see what I would get. Now, the content was awesome at $500 per 1,000 words. It was really good. The question is it worth it? No, I just don't think so. I haven't even checked whether I ever made even close to that amount on some of that content. Now, it's not like I ordered 300 articles at that rate, but I wanted to see. And I did a large batch at around the $350 per 1,000 words. And again, outstanding. It was 35 cents a word. Outstanding content, worth it. A couple of them were really good. I got to say, like they weren't just, they didn't just serve the topic, but they they were so good you wanted to read them. So that was cool. So was it worth it? I don't know. Will I get my money back? That's hard to say. Okay. So there are diminishing returns. You are going to get to a point where no matter, let's say it ranked number one immediately, you're still not going to get your money back in a reasonable amount of time. Now, what is a reasonable amount of time to get your money back that you invest in content? That's a topic for another video. I was going to put it in here, but I think that's a whole other discussion. And I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to you. What's reasonable to you? Is 2 years to get your money back okay? Or 2 months? I don't know. I don't even actually have a solid answer for myself at this point. If I get my money back in 2 months, I'm delighted. If it takes a year, I'm actually not that upset. So I would venture to say a year for me, but I've never crunched it down to, exactly when I'm getting my ROI. Anyways, as you can tell, this is a whole discussion for another topic. So let's stick to task here and carry on in terms of what you should spend per 1,000 words. So I would venture to say most of the time $250 per 1,000 words is probably going to still be overkill. Now, when you're talking these rates, $250 per 1,000 plus, all right, there are exceptions. All right, one is if you're looking for conversions, if you're writing sales copy, if you're doing a really good buyer intent piece of content that you want to convert with affiliate commissions or whatever else, email opt-ins, whatever. Expect to pay big bucks. You want that to be awesome content. It not only has to be well written, but it actually has to sell. So you're gonna pay top rates. $250 would be low for something like that. In a highly technical niche that requires expertise, credentials, degrees, you're going to pay more. All right. Now, lawyers who write freelance, now they choose it for lifestyle and perhaps a multitude of other reasons. But they are going to command more money, and you have to be prepared to pay for that. Same with maybe medical doctors. And what's interesting in a lot of these content agencies like Writer Access is there are credentialed lawyers and doctors and all sorts of engineers, plumbers, people with credentials are there, and they write highly expert pieces of content. You're just going to pay for it. Another exception would be creating a really good piece of link bait content. Okay, this is something that is going to be followed up with a great deal of outreach in an effort to get a lot of exposure and eyeballs via social media, and then you hope will result in a lot of inbound links. Okay, a piece of content like this can cost upward of many thousands of dollars. Of course, the hope is that it actually works. There's never a guarantee with this stuff. But if you're designing something for link bait, expect to pay. All right. And finally, if you just have lots of money and all you really care about is publishing something that's super great, top tier content across the board, you don't want to write it yourself. Well, I mean, if money's no object, spend whatever you want. Sometimes there's a good reason to just make sure that what you're doing is going to be outstanding and quality above all else, and by all means go to it. I get that, actually. The sweet spot in my experience to date, and this video is made in 2020, is $40 to $80 per 1,000 words. And I give that range because I still order within that range. I order some content at 40, I order a lot at 60, and I order a little bit at 80. And it will depend on the type of content. So if I need something very simple with minimal research, but it still needs to, read well and read, be decently written, $40 will do it. Writer's Access. Lion's share of my content these days, and I expect a decent amount of research. I expect it to be very thorough. I expect no fluff. I expect a very good introduction. I expect some personality injected into the article. I expect it to be a very good article. And I include finding some images. I just need the URLs to the images. I don't expect them to actually embed images and all that. There are exceptions. But anyway, $60 per 1,000 words. That is the lion's share of the content. That's what I'm paying for right now. Okay, now $80 is when I'm looking for a little bit something more technical or I need some additional research done. I'll pay $80. So now if I were forced to pick one rate, if I had a gun in my head and said, you get to pick one rate for all the content that you produce, what it would be, it'd be $60 per 1,000 words. That's generally the lion's share of what I'm paying right now. I have been all over the map over the years. Years ago, when I started outsourcing, I paid $60 per 1,000 words. That content has done really, really well over the years. I know what it is, and I remember it, and I can find it, and I can look at the results and the traffic. It's performed really well. I've gone into cost-saving measures, and I've gone down to $20 per 1,000. I've gone up to $30 per 1,000. I've gone all the way up. And what I found over the years is $60 per 1,000 words is going to get good results. Very good content with a reasonable chance at ranking, assuming a lot of other factors are handled, keyword research, other on-site factors. I do have the advantage of strong domain authority, which helps me. You're not going to have that advantage starting out, and all of these other factors, but if the content is good, I have a good chance of getting a decent return on that investment. One tip is to hire writers directly. Okay, you remember I use content agencies mostly, and I'm not going to get into why. That's again another topic for another video. But there are advantages for me for using content agencies. The downside is the agency's taking a significant chunk of that money. That means the writers aren't getting it, which means the rates are in a sense obviously inflated. We're paying a mill person to deal with this. If you can hire writers directly, like literally the 6 cents that I pay, if you took the agency out, I suspect the writer is probably getting around 4 cents a word. Well, if you can hire a writer at 6 cents a word directly, you're going to get a better writer. Or you can get pay only 4 cents a word or $40 per 1,000 and get somebody at the same caliber that I'm paying, and you're saving a lot of money. So hiring directly can save you a lot of money. I do actually have a couple writers that I've hired directly, and I have done very well. I get excellent content for very good rates as a result. So two places you can go to hire writers directly is ProBlogger has a freelance writer job board, and now I have an account. I have never hired off there because actually the second one I'm going to say is Craigslist. I've had great success with Craigslist hiring locally, so I go there. But from my reading, I've talked to other people, they've hired really great writers at ProBlogger. I know a lot of the people that write about how to become a freelance writer suggest to a lot of writers, hey, get listed at ProBlogger, or at least go check the boards there, because there's a lot of really good jobs there. So ProBloggers turned out to be this really good hub to find competent writers and at good rates. And but I've also found that Craigslist can be excellent. Craigslist is probably difficult if you're in a more rural area, unless I guess you advertise in a nearest larger city. Anyways, I like hiring sometimes locally, and it's worked out really well there. Now, don't forget that you can reduce the average cost of your content by writing some of it yourself. Okay, outsourcing is not an either or. It's not like all you can do is outsource or outsource nothing. You can do both, and I've done this for years. So you can maybe for every article you outsource, you write one yourself. All right, you get more content out, you're cutting your average cost of content down, and it's a win-win. It's really good. In fact, when I started, I wrote everything. I didn't have a budget for outsourcing. Once I had a little extra money, I started outsourcing a little, but I still wrote a lot of it. And eventually that ratio just changed. I ended up outsourcing more, writing less, and so on. So now I'm at the point where I outsource the lion's share, but I still do on occasion write for my niche sites. And lately, with ad revenue down quite a bit due to COVID-19, I've cut down the content budget, which means I'm writing a little bit more, a higher percentage of content I'm pushing out. So if you want to try the super budget, I would suggest give Textbroker 4-star a shot. It really depends on your niche and how much expertise you need. It also depends how much you're willing to edit. Some people love editing, which is interesting. I don't like editing at all. I like actually writing rough drafts, just crank out a whole bunch of ideas, and I like outlining and structuring it. In terms of editing, not my forte, but I know some people are really into editing. Now, if editing is your thing, perhaps Textbroker 4-star at $27 per 1,000 words is a great solution for you. They can punch out the sort of meat and potatoes of it and do some research for you. You can go in and spend an hour fine-tuning and creating something that would be something you would end up paying 10 or 12 cents per word. So it really depends how much editing you're willing to do. It also, of course, depends on your niche. If it's a very simple niche and you don't need to do a lot of research, obviously you can get away with paying less. if you're in something that has a lot more expertise required or more technical, or you just really want to have really solid writing, you have to pay more. That's it. Short answer to this whole video. For me, $60 per 1,000 word does a trick. But try different ranges. That's what I've done over the years. Always trying stuff has made a big difference. Thanks for listening.